Well, despite the specter of terrorism all across Europe, some British politicians still view Russia as a bigger threat than Islamic State jihadists. However, it appears that's not something the entire British public agrees with, as RT's Boiko reports.
British authorities knew it was coming, but they didn't know when or where Islamic terrorism would strike.
It was here on Westminster Bridge that 52-year-old Islamic extremist Khalid Massoud mowed down men, women and children indiscriminately before crashing into the gates of the Houses of Parliament. And the politicians working there had long identified that one of the biggest threats to British security is posed by Islamic State terrorists.
Another being Russia.
Russia's aggressive behaviour a stark reminder that it has the potential to pose the single greatest threat to our security.
In November, MI5, Britain's domestic intelligence agency, drew up a list of potential aggressors. You can guess who was headlining it. The same month, the head of the same agency said that Islamist extremism draws the most attention, but the Russian threat is covert and growing. An increasing number of politicians in Britain and Europe list the threat from Islamic State and Russia in the same sentence.
Direct threats from the resurgence of Russia, from ISIL.
Statements like these have had a peculiar effect. The world's most notorious terrorist organisation and the world's largest country have come to be regarded by some as almost morally equivalent.
Let's be very clear, Russia is up to all sorts of no good.
The European Union has even passed resolutions aimed at tackling Russian and ISIL propaganda. So could this latest attack prompt British politicians to rethink the way they classify the threats to UK security? Perhaps untangle the real, tangible, violent threat to defenceless civilians from geopolitical players? Unlikely.
If you are in the defence establishment and if you want the defence budget to increase, you have to have an enemy. You have to point your finger at somebody, and they point their finger at Russia and say Russia is the main threat to European security.
With the Westminster attack still weighing heavily on the minds of many in the British capital, we took to the streets to find out who Londoners fear more, Russia or ISIL.
No, I think there's probably lots of different threats. I think it's hard to categorise a biggest threat. I don't know how you would quantify that. And I don't trust anything that Boris Johnson would say. There we go.
Yeah, I think that it's very easy to say that Russia's the biggest threat, but that's all the media says, is the fact that Russia are a threat. They don't say anything about what they've done.
There are perhaps more pressing issues than Russia. Obviously, kind of the threat perhaps of ISIS or extremist groups.
I don't think that Russia's the biggest threat, no.
I think there are kind of more pressing issues such as ISIS. ISIL basically.
Russia is a very easy target. There are a lot of problems with Russia at the moment. However, I personally don't feel it's our biggest threat.
Boiko, RT, London.